Welcome to the Journey of Becoming. I'm your host, Karrie Mitten. Before we get started, a quick question. Are you ready to break through to your next level? Uplevel Your Life Consulting is where executive success meets soul-aligned strategy. If you're a high-performing professional or an entrepreneur who's accomplished a lot, but deep down knows there's more clarity, more impact, more freedom, more you, then this is your moment. Our executive coaching is for leaders who are finally ready to own their voice and step fully into the role of visionary and leader, doing work aligned with their soul, but overwhelmed by wearing all the hats, letting go of holding it all together and learning to trust themselves again, and looking for a grounded guide who honors both the personal and the professional journey. With personalized coaching tools for aligned decision making and deep vision work, we don't just scratch the surface. We hold space for what's real. This isn't about doing more, it's about becoming more of who you truly are. Let's talk about what's possible for you. Book a free clarity call today and let's create a bold vision for the next level of your becoming. Visit www.uplevelyourlifeconsulting.com to schedule your call today. Because you didn't come this far to only come this far. And now, on with the show. So our guest today is Meagan Fettes, founder of Untamed Speaker Success, a speaking and business growth platform that helps women in business scale their business through speaking, designing a talk that leads to sales, delivering it in a way that amplifies results, and using market strategies that lead to booking more stages. Through her proven approach, Meagan empowers women to use their voice as a strategic tool so speaking becomes the biggest business growth strategy. From navigating the challenges of building a business while raising young boys to overcoming life's unexpected obstacles, her journey is a powerful example of what's possible when you keep pivoting, learning, and taking action. So Meagan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Karrie. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you are. And we've known each other for a little bit of time now, and have seen each other through some of the ups and downs, hills and valleys of business. So let's start at
Right?
the beginning. Let's start at the beginning, right? Every transformation starts with a turning point. So if you want to share with me, a pivotal moment or a decision in your life or your business that made you realize you were meant to do what you're doing today.
Oh, so I love this question because when I first started my business and my journey in entrepreneurship, and I think you and I have talked about this, I started off as a yoga instructor
Right.
and I loved it. Don't get me wrong. It brought so many tools. I was really great at it. And then there was that pull to step into it in a bigger way. And I started facilitating retreats and trainings and started expanding into teaching all over the world.
Hmm.
And because of that, I got invited to speak on stages,
Hmm.
which, if you knew me as a kid, my whole family, when I started speaking on stages, were like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. I
Oh,
was the
okay.
4-H kid that loved public speaking.
Hmm.
I was the person who just would spark up a conversation with anybody. Speaking is like my love.
Hmm.
And so I started getting on stages and was told all the times, like, you're a great speaker, but nothing would actually come of a result from taking those actions.
Hmm.
And so I actually came home after being at this big speaking event where I shared the stage with Brian Smith, who's the founder of Ugg Boots, and Travis Roser, who's the co-founder of Kajabi. And again, made no difference in my business. It was actually killing my business at the time. And I made the decision that I needed to learn what to do in order to actually get speaking to be a strategy in my business. And I learned and I started implementing. And then I fell in love with it. Like the more results I saw, the more I couldn't unsee what everybody else was doing that was holding them back in
Hmm.
speaking.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I really do believe that our voice is one of the key differentiators in our life, in our business.
Hmm.
Our voice is programmed to the frequency
Hmm.
that people need to hear in order to activate certain things within them.
Hmm.
And so when we can learn to use our voice, especially in our business, to speak about tools and create the clarity that people need, it just shifts everything
Hmm.
for people. So that was that big transition, something that I knew I loved and yet struggled with myself in
Mhm.
finding the
Well,
solution.
what I love what you said is that you could see the paradigms that other people had in their speaking, and so you implement that, you got clear in yourself what your paradigm was, or what your fear was, or what was holding you back, or whatever that is, and then you worked on that, and then you put into place tools for others to be able to, and truly, Megan, that's a leader, right? When you walk the walk first. Right.
Mm,
When
yeah,
you see what inside yourself, what gets to be adjusted so that you can support others in their walk down the journey of life, right? The journey of their becoming. What was one of the biggest obstacles that you faced on your journey?
I'd say one of the biggest obstacles, and this might sound really strange, but one of the biggest obstacles that I had at the beginning of my journey was people taking me seriously.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
just being a young girl, like I started
Mhm.
everything fairly young. Um, and so oftentimes I would get met with, oh, well, why would somebody want to learn from you? You're only this age. And so that was a big obstacle that I found I kept hitting and hitting, was not necessarily the great like surroundings or the greater population of people. It was a few people, but it created this idea in my head.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah. Yeah. Because we just talked about the fact that you were on the movie Thoughts Become Things with Bob Proctor, right?
Yeah,
And when I watched that movie and saw you on that, I never once thought, wow, she's the youngest one on here, right? Or I'm not going to listen to her because she's young. Right. So we make up things in our mind that proliferates down the road, that continues to grow. Like, "Oh, nobody's going to listen to me because I'm so young." Right. And in reality,
totally.
that's the lie that we're telling ourselves. How did you
Yeah, because
overcome
like,
that?
well, to be honest, it was one of those like, okay, I could listen to this and I could stop taking action,
Mm-hmm.
or I could listen to it and take action anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what, like those thoughts that we create for ourselves, like they are there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and my own experience at least, is that when we stop trying to necessarily fix them and
Mm-hmm.
we allow them to be and then choose something different
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rather than the action that we've been doing as a result of, that's
Mm-hmm.
when we begin to move through it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they're the gatekeeper, and it's like you got to find that right password. And then
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you do, it's just taking that different action, something a little bit different than what you've been doing up to that point. Then all of a
Right.
sudden they open it up and they're like, okay, through you go.
And that's exactly what I do with my clients is I help them to create a vision for what it is that they would love. And when that fear starts to come up, while they're taking, for their next action step, they go to their vision, which allows them to come from the energy of that and take the action step rather than coming from the paradigm or the fear, right? The fear-based
Yeah.
action. Right. And so the vision will, the woman in the vision will tell you exactly what the action step is. It may not look like, it's not going to look like what the action step is coming from the fear. Right. And
I love that.
that's a whole different map. It's completely different. Well, I love that you do that. I mean, there's fear is always a companion when you're on your road to success, right? That fear will always be part of that. How do you support your clients in getting past the fear of speaking? Because this fear of speaking is like think the top fear of everyone, right? Is
It is.
public speaking. So how do you support your clients in getting past that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways. One is to remember, so when we're going out to speak, it's not about us and it's not about performing or proving or anything like that. It's ultimately about the audience. And
Hmm.
so what I find for my clients is as soon as we shift from that, oh, well, what will they think of me, to what can I give to them,
Mm,
that naturally kind of puts that fear to the side.
mhm, mhm,
The other thing is like, and I remind people too, like if you have those feelings in your body, because I mean, fear and emotion always rises up within our body.
mhm,
Oftentimes we tell ourselves that it's fear, right? Oh,
mhm,
well, I'm just afraid. We get the butterflies in our stomach. Maybe we get the sweats, whatever it might be. Maybe you get a little bit shaky.
mhm,
But what if? Like,
mhm,
what if that wasn't actually fear?
Mm-hmm.
And what if that was excitement? What if
Mm-hmm.
that was excitement because you get to share your message, because you get to pour into people, because you get to lead people to clarity that ultimately shifts them into a transformation of results?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love
And
that.
so those are those two big pieces that we start to bring in.
Yeah, it's again, it's reframing fear, right? Fear is, I always tell my clients, fear is really the edge of the reality that you've known. It doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means that you haven't done it yet, right?
Yeah.
And then, as speaking, I always, I mean, I love to speak too, and but also get fear occasionally when I get on stage. But what I reframe fear when I'm on stage is I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the listeners in the best way that I know how. And
Mhm.
and that way also more transparency, more authenticity comes out from me. I'm not reading from a script. I'm just, really speaking from the heart rather than the head. So I
Yeah.
love that you teach that to your clients. That's so vitally important. I love it.
Well, and I think sometimes too, people forget that um, we everybody thinks of speaking as the moment we step on the stage, right? When in reality, the day in a life of a speaker, I joke about is what are you doing to take care of yourself? What are you doing to be really intentional with your own energy on a daily basis?
Mhm.
And every single day that we do those things that are bringing us into that higher vibration or taking care of ourselves, grounding ourselves, all of that
Mhm.
is what we need to do in order to step on that stage
Mhm.
and hold that energy of
Mhm.
being of service.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. Absolutely. Energy is it's everything when especially when you're speaking or when you're, engaging in a podcast or whatever that is. Energy is so vitally important. I want to go back to, I mentioned, the movie, Thoughts Become Things. And in our pre-call, you talked about how that came to be. And I think that that's probably really important for our listeners to hear because this is exactly what I teach, right? Is creating a vision and manifesting that vision, right? So you had a vision. So share with our listeners what you shared with me earlier about how that came to be.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've done when I set my goals is I always will set ones that, likely I'm going to achieve. And then always one that is this hairy, audacious goal that seems so far-fetched that I've got no clue how it's going to actually happen.
Hmm.
But it's based out of like the wild desires of my heart, right?
Yeah.
There's no logic behind it. It's all heart-based.
Hmm.
And so that year that I got invited to be a part of the movie, my goal that I set was I wanted to be a peer. I wanted to work alongside Bob Proctor. So not as one of his students, but as a peer, because I had studied, I had listened to Bob Proctor my whole life. He was just, to me, the epitome of success
Hmm.
and the success that I wanted to create.
Hmm.
And so once I set those goals, I just let them go because again, like I've got no idea how I'm going to do it. I'm not really overly attached to the outcome. And so I just let it go. And I went about my life. And it's funny because I got invited to this event. And the morning before that event, my head was screaming at me like, "Oh, don't go. Don't go. You can do
Yeah.
all the other things."
Uh-huh.
But there was something in my heart that kept saying, "No, like you need to be there."
Uh-huh.
And so I listened to my heart, and the gentleman who was leading this event started talking about this movie that he was producing and creating, and that Bob Proctor and Joe Vitale and Dennis Waitley and all these big names were a part of it.
Hmm.
And so my mom was with me at that event, and she kept elbowing me, saying, "Meg, like you got to go talk to him." So I went and we booked a time to sit down for coffee because he was local to Calgary. And a couple weeks went by and I went and I met him for coffee. And he said, "Man, I'm so glad that we're connecting because all of the photos he got back from the event, I was in." And he's like, "To me, this is a sign. Like,
Hmm.
tell me more about what you do." And so I was telling him about the teachings that I did within the yoga world at the time and what I believed in and the philosophies that I taught my clients. And he's like, oh my gosh, you need to be a part of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited me to be a part of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so lo and behold, I got
That's
to fulfill
amazing.
that desire that
Right, because Bob Proctor was in that movie. I mean, he was part of the making of that movie, wasn't he?
yeah,
Yeah. Amazing. And just, I mean, for our listeners, when you have something on your heart that is a desire for you, the universe wants you to have that, right? What you are seeking is also seeking you. And so, as long as you continue to take the action steps and you continue to listen to your heart and not your head, right? Because your head was telling you, I'm tired, I don't want to go, blah, 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 right? But your heart was saying, no, go. And look at what it led to. I mean, and oh, by the way, as we talked about before, never once did he say, you're too young for this, right?
exactly.
Right. Yeah. So that's beautiful. I love that. And I want our listeners to understand, that when you have something on your heart, don't, flip it away. I mean, keep it there and continue to lean in because that is the calling of your next level of who you are becoming, right? So I'm sure that's
Yes.
opened lots of doors for you and lots of different avenues. So absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love it. So, so looking back at, everything you've gone through, and we really kind of just touched on. I mean, one obstacle, was feeling like you were the youngest person. But I'm sure that there have been other things in your life, and we don't need to get, into the weeds on all of that. But if you had one piece of advice that you could say to somebody who is on their journey of becoming, who maybe feels like there's something more for them, but can't quite see the clarity, have the clarity, or maybe they have a vision, but they just feel like it's out of touch. What would you say to that person? If you had one thing to say to them, Megan, what would that
Oh
be?
man, just one. I'm like,
I
oh my
know,
gosh, how
I
do I
know.
choose
There's
just
probably a
one?
lot.
There is, but I believe so. Again, and this is something that I've seen over and over and over in every obstacle that I've come across.
Mhm.
And when it comes down to it all, it's really I'm trying to think of how to phrase this all. So
Mhm.
the best example I have of this. So I, in my past life, we'll call it not like actually past life, but like
Right.
earlier in my journey of being
Yeah.
in existence, I struggled with drugs and alcohol, and I was in a drug and alcohol addiction state. And the best choice I ever made in that moment was to step into community, was to say yes to the
Ah.
rooms and the places
Mm.
that invited me to be more.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
even though it was scary,
Mhm.
it was this like this under um it was this idea that I had just created that if I want to do something, then I need to be willing to say yes to the communities that I know are going to like pull that more out of me.
Mm.
Where I'm not going to be the smartest person in the room. I might seem like the youngest person in the room. I might whatever, right? Like
Mhm.
keep saying yes to those rooms and build the community on those people that will help you pull that more out of you
Mm.
because we're not meant to create our vision or bring our vision to life on our own.
Right. Right.
It happens in community.
Yes. Thank you so much for being authentic in that and sharing that because I believe that to be so true. I mean, my whole world is about community and even the Bible says where two or more are gathered, there am I, meaning that there's power in that. There's power. We are not meant to do life alone. We're meant to do life in community and to lift you up. I mean, there's days, I mean, I coach women in empowerment, but there are days when I don't feel empowered, right? And so I look to my coaches for that type of support and accountability. So yeah, that's beautiful. Absolutely, probably the most important thing is to stay in those types of power of proximity, right? The power of
Yes.
proximity.
And I think often, like, I know for myself, right? Like in the past, when I was going through that drug addiction, why I brought up that story is because that moment that I made the decision that I was going to do something different in my life,
Mhm.
I made the choice to surround myself with people that I knew would call me out if I slipped
Mhm.
back.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And it was the best decision I made. And so same, like go, I know people will say like, well, don't share your big goals with everybody. Share them with the right
Right.
people that know that they're going to keep like inviting and encouraging and calling you out when you start going back into those old patterns or habits, because we all do it. I mean, it's
Yes.
part of human nature, but
Yes.
your community that really wants you to win,
Yes.
that's
Because
gold.
those are the women or the people who see the power inside of you, irregardless of your circumstances, situations, or conditions, right? They see the
Absolutely.
power inside of you. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, everybody deserves to have someone like that, a community like that,
Mhm.
for sure. And I consider you one of mine, my friend. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Likewise,
Yeah,
same.
beautiful. Well, thank you for being here today. I know your story is going to leave our listeners feeling empowered, ready to take action. So, for everyone tuning in, your journey of becoming starts with one brave step. Before we let you go, where can our listeners find you, Meagan, if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, the best place is to go and check out my website, which
Okay.
is www.untamedspeakersuccess.com.
Lovely. I love it. Okay, beautiful. Well, until next time, keep embracing your transformation and know that we are all on our journey of becoming. Thanks for now. Take care.